I suppose when we talk about the Chinese market, a lot of people think about how do we enter into China to sell things to the Chinese market, right? But a lot of times we forgot about the other huge market, which is the Chinese tourists who actually are very eager to travel and especially in places like Singapore, we attract a lot of Chinese tourists every year. Of course, during this period with the COVID-19 virus going on, everything is put on hold. However, I think this is precisely the perfect time for businesses to actually understand how they can reach out to the Chinese tourists so that when this virus is over and the Chinese tourist is ready to travel again, they will be prepared and they will know exactly how to reach out to them.
Ready to level up your content marketing strategies? Here's another episode of Level Up Content Play with Rio Leong.
So in this particular aspect, Sarah, maybe could you give us a little tip or two on how businesses in Singapore, especially the retail sector, for example, how can they prepare themselves and perhaps even be established in the Chinese apps, perhaps, so that they can be in the right position to attract the Chinese tourists when they decide to come to Singapore in the future?
Yeah, sure. So I think for Singaporean retail companies who are interested to draw Chinese tourists to your retail, I think there's a different factors to consider. This question is a bit broad, so I can also break it down into different stages. And also for Chinese tourists, that they also have different stages as well. They didn't know you. If for those companies, brands haven't done anything before, they might not know you. When it's in terms of the searching behavior, they haven't been searching you, they couldn't find you. So so that's why it is good that even when they're searching for that, you kind of appear and come up to them like as if they in their mind that they know your company, your brand, your shops, your location exists, and that is so that they can kind of recall that memory when they arrive in Singapore. And obviously, it sort of also depends on how your brand awareness level. If your retail, your company brand is not yet really well known, so I think in the first stage you need to spend a lot of time and also the money investment in investing to spreading out, to spread out the word of mouth or your brand awareness among these people so that they can kind of recall it.
So for a start, where should we go to? Should we use Baidu or should we try to establish our noise, so to speak, in WeChat, or what would you suggest?
So I think there's several platforms that companies can consider. First of all, will be in these Chinese OTA platforms that a lot of these Chinese audiences, they go there to search for flights information, and also even a lot of travel call. They are kind of like itineraries, like they're like a bit of a community, like Chongyou or all these travel platforms. It's a really specific travel platform that the people share about their journey. I think it is a good way that this retail brand can develop content and also use KOC if they have less budget, KOL to spread their stories and all that in these platforms to open the door. That's a pretty much first stage. And second stage will be aggressively doing more, for example, Baidu search marketing, so that when people search for Singapore travel keyword, that your advertising appears on top, and that they can aware that your Chinese website exists. They can even book maybe a tour or whatever visit before they come there from Baidu keyword searches. It's a bit like Google, when you search for travel to Singapore, then a lot of information come up. When you see what you like, then you click there and you understand your brand, or you can even book a booking. So I think that will be also a very effective way to drive some from a search intention.
Currently, in Singapore, what I did realize is there are many establishments that are now starting to accept WeChat Pay and Alipay. How can we further make use of this to attract the Chinese tourists? Is there something within, let's say, the WeChat ecosystem? When I am able to accept WeChat Pay, can I somehow make use of WeChat as well to have some noise?
For WeChat Pay, I think it is good that that if they accept WeChat Pay, I think it's a good way. They don't need to bring their credit card, like a Visa credit card, or it is a bit of troublesome for Chinese. For second tier city, they don't even have a Visa. Or for first tier city, it might be there's still some individuals might if they travel a lot, they might, but not a lot of them want to apply for a Visa card. So that's why I think if they accept WeChat Pay, then it is a really good start. It kind of make it easier and make it worthwhile for all the marketing effort they spend. So I think that is a really good step. But it is only one of the steps that it is hard to expect that when your retail store has WeChat Pay, it's hard to accept that automatically people will come in and know you and pay for it, because you still need to do marketing so that they kind of know you before they come to your store to pay.
I do know that sometimes they offer stuff like scan the QR code for some Hong Bao, some special gifts and all that. Is that something we can ride on as well?
I think the red packet is a bit of a gimmick, and I think it is a good way to draw their attention onto it. If it is a good product, then I think it will really bring in more attention to make it stand out. I think that is like a tactic.
I'm thinking that it's more like a tactic for Alibaba. I mean, for Alipay and WeChat Pay, to get people to use their service rather than, because like you said, we need to do the marketing first for the tourists to come to the store, right? Before they decide whether to use Alipay or to use WeChat Pay, right? So the scanning of the red packet at the store is no longer a tool we can use to bring people to the store. Is that the way, or can it be announced beforehand to the user that, hey, red packets are available at these stores, so that I will actually think that it is worthwhile for us to work with Alipay or WeChat Pay to offer these red packets so that they can come to the store? Does it work that way?
I think if the store doesn't sell a really good product, I think it might be still useless, because if your product doesn't really seem interesting, then why do I need to spend money on? Why I don't really care. I mean, even though you give like 10% discount or 20% discount, I don't really care at all. Yeah, I think as long as you need to have something that they really care and they're interested, rather than using all these discounts or red packet to kind of draw their, like, as a reason, because ultimately they're buying your product, not the other way around. So I do think that, first of all, you still need to have some sort of reasonable product, right? That they are interested about.
So you brought a very good point in the sense that we should always arouse the interest first, right? So I suppose in my line of work, storytelling is really one of the most powerful tool that we can use to create this interest.
Yeah.
What kind of stories do you think appeal to the Chinese audience? Is it very much different, or do we judge based on the Chinese dramas that we see, in terms of romance and stuff like that? Or is there a specific way you think, a formula of sorts?
When you talk about stories, then I think there's a lot of cultural interpretation and cultural influences. And the story applied in the West is certainly very different from the East, I mean, in particular for China, because I live both countries. And I know that there's different stories. In terms of story, I think it has to resonate to these Chinese audiences, that they kind of feel that they kind of relate to. For example, one of the stories, I mean, in a way that it resonates to Chinese audience is that the big rabbit candy, like Baidu Tang,
Mhm.
that candy I ate it when I was young. My mom passed it to me somehow in Guangzhou. I remember. She brought it to me, and my grandparents brought it to her, and she passed it to me and all that. So that was really a good story. That kind of resonate because it was kind of passing along from the Chinese generation.
Generations.
Yeah.
So
So
I suppose family is a really a huge topic in terms of
yeah,
story for Chinese.
yeah, I think family is absolutely a really good topics for Chinese families, especially during Chinese New Year. A lot of these even big brands they were talking about Chinese New Year have family having together like lunch or maybe a story that the one of the people working in big city they come all the way to home and all that. Oh, finally they got it. That oh you find out that it's actually Alipay, so yeah, that means that Alipay support you to go back home through this means of transportation and easy payment. So that's why there has to be some resonance to the
Right.
audiences. Otherwise, they probably won't get it. There's no like a kind of a formula. A lot of these cultural factor and psychological factor as well. If you want to explain it, because I live in both the West and the East, I have both living experiences, so I can kind of using a Western language to interpret it. And yeah, the storytelling is interesting. I think it is the fundamentals of where you arouse their interest for your products, for your brands, and all that. Somehow it kind of stand out from itself. A lot of this, even a lot of these Chinese local brands, for example, Perfect Daily is a skincare brand, a local skincare brand from Guangzhou. They use a very interesting stories to portray their product line. They use the animals to portray different eyeliner, like a lion, a zoo or whatever. Like different animals has different color tone in their skin, and they make like a animal kind of line of eyeliner, and that's quite interesting.
The key takeaways.
First of all, in the awareness or even in the consideration stage of the buyer's journey, companies can choose to establish their presence in China's online travel agency platforms. And there are quite a lot of them, and they are immensely popular among the China tourists. Also, doing an SEO or SEM campaign on Baidu search will definitely help as well to establish your presence in the China market. Secondly, if your establishment accepts Alipay or WeChat Pay, it is definitely a plus in terms of user experience because most of China tourists will be using such payment platforms. However, they may not be effective in terms of bringing customers to your establishment in the first place. The offering of the red packets or hongbao, however, may be a good way to entice purchase at the decision stage when they are at your establishment. And finally, stories are powerful in terms of establishing the connection with the target audience. And in particular, for China, family themes tends to be very well received. And you will need to note the cultural nuances and the cultural differences when you craft your brand story as well to appeal to these audiences.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Sarah, for joining me today. If people want to find out more on how to learn about Chinese social media or even general digital marketing for the Chinese market, where can they find you?
Yeah, I mean, They can search my LinkedIn like Sarah Yam, Sarahyam in LinkedIn and find me. And they can also find the website if there are any questions or need consultancies or executions for Chinese digital marketing, search marketing, or social media websites. They can find us, and we're happy to help.
Hey, let me know what you think by leaving your comments below, or even tell me what other topics you would like me to cover. If you would like to have a chat with me as well and offer your views, do reach out to me at realleong@contentplayhq.com. You can also follow me on Instagram at realleong for other short form content as well. Once again, remember to subscribe and turn on your notifications so that you will know when the next episode will come out. All right, see you.